You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com. The Options Insider Radio Network is sponsored by Fidelity Investments. Fidelity's Option Trade Builder tool can help you confidently build an options trade in 3 simple steps. Just choose a strategy, select a contract, and then review the benefits and risks of the trade. Learn more about Option Trade Builder at fidelity.com/options. Options trading entails significant risk and is not appropriate for all investors. Certain complex option strategies carry additional risk. Before trading options, contact Fidelity Investments by calling 800-544-5115 to receive a copy of the characteristics and risks of standardized options. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC, member NYSE SIPC.
Join us now for the expert source for inside information on the options markets. It's time for Options Insider Radio with your host, Mark Longo.
All right, everybody. That music means it's time once again for Options Insider Radio, the interview program here on the old network where we welcome on guests from throughout the world of options and derivatives and sometimes beyond, and proceed to pick their brains for the benefits of you, the listener. My name is Mark Longo from the aforementioned network. Our next guest is a newcomer to the program and indeed to the network. He is Thomas McInerney, the Chief Product Officer over there at Open Financed Network. Thomas, welcome to the program.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
And Thomas, as we are wont to do with all of our first-timers here on the network, why don't you give us a little bit of an overview of your background in the technology and indeed financial realms, how they intersect, where that Venn diagram falls, and then what it is you guys actually do over there at Open Finance Network.
Sure. So I actually come from a bit of a mix of the background myself. I've got tech and finance backgrounds there, which I think blockchain is the perfect intersection and implementation there. We at Open Finance are working on a secondary trading platform for tokenized securities. So mostly dealing with the private sector, your things like Reg D, Reg S, REITs, etc.
There you go. I like that. Succinct. right to the point. Yeah. That's always a good intro. Let's get into what you guys are doing over there. Obviously, you're a platform to help people trade, or maybe someday soon help people trade what are effectively tokenized securities. This is obviously over there in the crypto realm. A lot of people have been coming through the studio and on the network of late that play in your neck of the woods. I've lost track of how many different players we've had on lately who've talked about different crypto exchanges or different crypto aggregators or different ways to trade crypto or the underlying technology. It certainly seems to have captured the imagination of a lot of the trading world, including of our audience here, but you guys are focusing on a very specific subset of that market, or actually a very large subset of that market. A lot of our audience, Thomas, is obviously familiar probably with, the underlying Bitcoin product that they can go to, let's say, a Coinbase or a Kraken and open an account and buy, or perhaps they're familiar with the futures that were listed by CME and SIBO on the Bitcoin product itself. But for a lot of them, maybe their understanding of the crypto world kind of ends there. So maybe before we dive into the weeds of what you guys do, give us a little bit of an overview of what exactly these token things are and why you guys are so intrigued by them.
Sure, absolutely. So it's a like you said, a very broad category. Everything in the token landscape. We have the traditional cryptos, Bitcoin, Ethereum, etc. But tokenized securities, and then last year we saw a lot of tokenized or utility tokens, which were actually should have been securities, as we're finding out now. But a lot of these the tokens basically a great vehicle to represent ownership on chain. You get a lot of the advantages that come with using a blockchain system, the permissionless factors, while still being able to leverage some of the KYC AML services that we see in the securities industry. So what security tokens really tackle, and what we're specifically working on, is in the alternative asset industry. We were seeing sometimes 8-week clearing and settlement on some of the less liquid assets, like real estate was really our what we focused on before, and tokenization just seems to be the obvious proof of concept and next step for this for the alternative asset world. We saw that instead of 8-week clearing and settlement going from transfer agent to custodian and all these middlemen in between, we were able to get that from 8 weeks basically to 8 seconds. So blockchain technology allows the transfer to happen basically instantaneously while still remaining completely within the regulatory sphere of the SEC and FINRA, and making sure that you remain compliant basically without any effort.
You know, you mentioned that because, you know, tokens always get lumped in with the crypto conversation, and certainly a large part of them are in that realm. But as you mentioned, the token could kind of be on almost anything. It could be on, like you mentioned, in the real estate realm. It could be even on something as crazy as, let's say, loyalty points for a particular, you know, distributor or manufacturer. So the purview, what you can put into a token, is almost limitless, even though it kind of gets lumped into all the crypto at the end of the day. Sometimes, Thomas, is that sometimes frustrating to you guys? Or do you guys like getting lumped in because the crypto wave is kind of hot right now? Hard to argue about that.
Definitely. I think you see a lot of things being tokenized, and I think tokenizing all these different asset classes, and then tokenizing things like people down to baseball cards or collectibles. It's a great vehicle for basically bridging real life assets on chain. So we do like kind of being lumped in because all these innovative technologies and new things we see coming out every day, we're able to leverage and create an even better product than we would have been able to before.
So let's break it down to open finance a little bit. You guys are obviously looking to bring this token marketplace to the masses. Walk us through, you know, what you guys are offering and why you think your platform is the way to go for this.
Yeah, sure. So we're a self-clearing broker dealer and also have our ATS license as well. We're the first to market regulated trading platform. So we can't use the term exchange as it's a reserved keyword, but we're seeking to build basically a global liquidity pool and order book for private securities. The cool thing about this technology and tokenization is that and investors from all over the world can actually get involved in the platform, and it's not just limited to U.S. traders. So we've actually seen a lot of interest overseas. I'd say about 60% of our users are international traders.
And so the product is live right now. Is it in beta right now as we speak?
Yeah. So we actually started in July. We started onboarding investors, and we have the first tokens are basically start trading any day now. There's a few last minute audits. A lot of these early companies are, it's a blessing and a curse. The eye of the world is on them, so they want to make sure it's 110% ready to go. But we're expecting Blockchain Capital, Spice VC, both are crypto-based venture capital / hedge funds, and then our own token as well. The OFN token is a Reg D and Reg S security, which we'll be trading. The Reg S side, at least, will be trading in the next couple weeks.
And who are these early users of the platform? Obviously, they're pretty early adopters in the crypto space. Are you primarily aiming at retail? Are you going after a more professional crowd? Who are the early users that you're going for this platform?
It's interesting. It's definitely we've kind of broken it out to a few different sectors. The very, very early people. If you kind of read on Twitter and know the space, it's all the people who got involved in the crypto early. See the next wave of security tokens, I think, are our first users. Then the second wave of retail is people that are heavily involved in the financial markets, and see security tokens as more of a maybe legit or with the regulatory backing there, they see it as a better way to get into blockchain. So we're seeing that a lot. I'm expecting a lot more of those people to come on eventually, other than the crypto traders now. So I think it's a cool mix of people that are involved, and a cool mix of retail and early institutional, and then accredited, non-accredited, U.S. and international. So to me, one thing that's really interesting and attractive is, a non-accredited U.S. person can get involved through a token into a venture capital fund that they would, not be able to unless they're at that accredited investor level.
And obviously, our audience, they're pretty deep into the weeds when it comes to finance. So they have a certain degree of expectation when they come to a new platform. They expect their broker or their portal, call it what you will, to offer a wide degree of functionality and obviously access to the products they want to trade, but also probably research on those, maybe charting, maybe some ability to spread one versus the other, some other cool bells and whistles. So what else do you have going on the open finance platform to appease that hardcore finance guy who wants to maybe start trading some tokens?
Absolutely. Yeah, so we do have our very own COO, Jim Stonebridge, is actually the COO of Options House and Peak Six for a time. And he's set the bar pretty high for knowing what we need to have for launch. So we do have a full the full ability to on ramp via USD, ETH, and soon BTC. I think you get a lot of people who want that ability built into the platform. We have the full research screens in progress. Pretty much what you're used to on your TD Ameritrade or Schwab. A lot of these tokens that are coming up are very interesting, and it takes a bit of digging to do some research, but we do plan on having a full-fledged platform there. And then charting tools are basically what you'd expect on your Coinbase or other crypto platforms. I'm getting the team a little bit more comfortable with some more technicals, implementing. I think we have TradingView coming online, so that should give people a nice. There's definitely a little bit more to be built out, which I think we'll see the serious traders actually use our fixed feed API and plug in their own solutions like a NinjaTrader. But all of that is expected, and we do. That's something we've been working actually with our. We've had a number of market makers interests on the platform. So actual people that do market making in traditional markets have approached us about our designated market maker program.
I think that's a good choice to go with someone from the options space to help build the platform, because we've seen in general, not just because we come from the options world, that the options end user is usually the most demanding of the bunch versus the plain stock guy or the futures or equity or, fixed income trade or something like that. The options guy really demands all the bells and whistles. So if you have someone helping build your platform who's used to accommodating those somewhat extreme demands of the options trader, I'm guessing you guys will have a robust platform at the end of the day, Thomas.
I do think so. And it's, we've actually got a pretty much end product up there now, which you can check out at openfinance.io. There's you can go through the live site and sign up, and then also check out the demo just to play around with some fake tokens. But it's going to be considerably similar to the expectations that people have coming from traditional markets, and certainly on par, or actually, I think much better than the existing crypto platforms. So. But maybe I'm a little bit biased there.
just a little. You mentioned liquidity. That's obviously another subject that's interesting for products like these, because this is not like going out and buying a few shares of Apple. These are much more esoteric products that require a lot more research, and also, liquidity is probably going to be an issue. So you mentioned liquidity providers. I'll get to them in a second, because that's obviously another token. But first off, like right now, if I go into your platform and I pick, let's say, the top token people are trading right now, what sort of liquidity can people expect? What kind of bids and offer spreads are we looking at? How liquid are these things?
Well, like I was saying before, we're actually nothing is trading right now. Of the tokens, we are live. The platform is onboarding people, but these tokens are finishing their, security audits is a good way of putting it, for the smart contracts, the actual tokens that will be deployed and trading live on chain. There are people are just a bit nervous to be the first ones out there. So we do have a number of people signed up, and the cool thing about blockchain is that, well, you can't see personal information on chain. You get a great idea of which also it also leads to a lot of problems, which I can get into. But you can see exactly how much product is looking to come onto the platform and is on the platform from an outside perspective. So a bit of a blessing and a curse there. It also really technological savvy traders might see a large transfer coming in and decide to play that before that hits the market. So a few ways of adjusting to that and countering that we see with but it is a very prevalent problem in the decentralized exchange realm of crypto. And people have been exploiting it a lot. I don't really see it as much affecting security tokens, and we do have methodology in place to kind of protect from that. As we're a bit of a, since the tokens actually settle on chain, peer to peer, and eliminate a number of these middlemen, it's a bit of a decentralized model itself.
Yeah, I suppose the platform is still in beta, so any real analysis of spreads is kind of limited to the paper trading you have going on right now. But I'm sure your paper trade spreads are very tight and very deep and liquid. So I commend you on that. You mentioned liquidity providers. That's obviously another big issue. We see this a lot in the options space. A new venue comes online, and one of the first things they have to do is go make the rounds to the usual suspects of liquidity providers in the options world, and usually sell them a piece of the exchange or make some sort of deal with them to incentivize them to step up and provide liquidity. So those spreads we were talking about earlier, so they aren't so wide you can drive a truck through them and then no one wants to trade. Is that the process you mentioned? So people are reaching out to you already. Is that the process you guys are going through now? And what's the response been like to actually wanting to come and provide liquidity in these tokens?
Absolutely. So we have a really interesting pool for our designated market making program. One problem we're running into is the guys with a lot of capital who want to do some heavy trading come from the crypto world. And they have none of the license. They don't have a broker dealer affiliation because they didn't need it in the wild west of crypto. So we're doing everything by the book. So they've been in process and working to get that done. And then on the traditional side, people are still getting a bit comfortable. The people who have been licensed for years and doing this for years haven't quite made the full leap into crypto. So they're interested in security tokens, but they're, starting off a bit more conservative. So I think everything will definitely start to converge in the next couple months. We'll see the crypto people finally putting their regulatory hats on, and the traditional side of markets start to get really comfortable and excited to get involved in the platform. But yeah, it's interesting because it brings together two different worlds, and seeing the perspective is
I'm glad you brought that up, because that's something that's been endlessly fascinating to me, particularly over the last year, as we've seen more and more of the traditional crypto players, coming and invading Chicago. Chicago has become a mecca for crypto trading, partly because there's this ecosystem here for risk taking and risk management and trading, usually on the derivative side. But if you're willing to trade derivatives, usually you're a little bit more open to maybe some of the more esoteric products out there. So crypto has really fit in well. And all of a sudden, in the last 12 to 18 months, we've seen Chicago become this hub for crypto trading and various related ventures. And you're right, it's been this interesting clash of mindsets, people coming from the traditional crypto hotbeds of, the West Coast and the tech scene, and now coming into contact with who are usually, very strong believers in the underlyings and what it can do for society, et cetera, and the technology itself. And you have people in the trading world, let's say a little bit more pragmatic when it comes to their mindsets, a little bit more viewed, and they're used to dealing in this heavily regulated financial ecosystem. So they have a little bit different rules of engagement, and seeing these two worlds kind of come together, sometimes colliding, sometimes working together. Maybe the trading guys bringing the crypto guys a little bit down to earth, and vice versa, the crypto guys bringing the more practical, pragmatic trading guys, maybe getting them a little bit more excited about some of the opportunities there. It has been fascinating to watch, and you guys certainly are kind of at the nexus of all of that. So that must be interesting for the calls you guys have on a daily basis. One minute it's a crypto true believer, the next minute is maybe a market making firm in the options or derivatives world, and you guys are certainly living at the nexus of those two worlds, Thomas.
Absolutely. And we actually saw in the last couple months, Coinbase, the biggest company in crypto, just moved a giant office to Chicago. I think they're trying to really build out a hire up engineers anywhere they can, guys with high frequency experience and exchange technologists to build out something to rival NASDAQ. So it's really interesting, the people we get to talk to. We'll be on panels with other trading platforms, and you have the guys that are accepting and embracing regulation, and then you have the guys that are saying, no, if they start knocking on our door, we're moving to Barbados or the Caymans or something. So we've seen a few of those platforms, some of the bigger ones, that hasn't worked out too well for them. So, but exactly like what you're saying, it exemplifies the two worlds coming together, and permissionless systems Bitcoin at its core was designed to be kind of anti-regulation and anti-government. So finding something that best uses the technology and the real appreciation for that without being too, of course you want to do everything. And we do work very closely with the regulators, but you want to see how much you can actually use that permissionless tech.
You mentioned a lot earlier in our conversation about the regulatory side. You can't really delve into this topic without touching on it. It is a very hot area in terms of regulation, a very fluid area. We've seen the SEC and the CFTC both alternating in their crackdowns on various players in this space. They come out, not too long ago saying they think all ICOs are effectively securities, and that falls under a lot of those under the token realm there. So that changes a lot of the regulations you have to play with. We've seen them cracking down on multiple firms just in the last few months who played kind of fast and loose with those regulations and getting shut down as a result. So it's definitely a very strict regulatory regime in your space, and also a very fluid one. It has to be very challenging because you guys right now are in beta. You're looking to open up and go live, I think, sometime next year. Does that concern you that, what we know as the law of the land right now may be very different in 6 to 12 months when your platform's up and running?
Yeah, and actually, I put our launch is more so in the next few weeks than a few months. It's just kind of making sure the product is there, right, to actually be trading. So a lot of these ICOs, it's funny, they call them utility tokens. They're like, oh no, and bring up the Howey test and blah 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 blah. But at the end of the day, it was a private placement. Like, these things were raised as securities. They were clear cut Reg D
Reg S security offerings. So we just calling something a utility doesn't, or a token doesn't make it not a security. So I think that we'll see somewhat of a resurgence in what we're calling STOs. A lot of companies starting up or looking for capital raise there. I think that will remain popular. You know, the barriers to entry are a bit higher with creating making sure all your financials are in place and creating a security token. So it will weed out a lot of the bad actors there. But you know, I think the things that are going to benefit the most from security tokenization are existing assets, stuff that's super liquid, and stuff like real estate, like I touched on earlier. We think are really going to be the low-hanging fruit of the first wave of these security tokens. But definitely, we'll see a good amount of the STOs will start to come up. So I think that especially 100% with STOs, these things, you know, it's really not too much to get it done, and if anything, it's a great way for some of these companies to get capital. But as long as you do it correctly, and it will eliminate a lot of these bad actors and bring credibility back to the ecosystem.
Well, Thomas, this has been a fascinating conversation. I'm sure a lot of our audience enjoys taking a little bit of a tour through the world of tokens. And if they're intrigued, what can they look forward to coming down the pike from you guys over there at Open Finance in the coming months? How long is the beta? I think you said you're in open registration now. And when do you expect the platform to be live so we can go in there and actually kick the tires and light the fires on these tokens?
So I think we're shooting for the first week of November, and by the end of the year, we should have about 10 different securities trading. So excited for that. 2019 especially looks very, very promising for the security token space. So come to openfinance.io, sign up, and take a tour of the platform.
Also, very soon then, not looking like, you know, Q2 of next year or anything like that, but in the next month or so.
Yeah, we'll be the first to market there. So a lot of competition is on its way, but we'll have a healthy head start.
And openfinance.io is where they need to go if they want to sign up for the beta now, and then for the live platform in about a month.
Yep.
Well, there you go, listeners. Openfinance.io to learn more. And we'll, of course, be back soon with more episodes of Options Insider Radio very soon.
The preceding program was a production of the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com.